Tēnā koe, Mr Speaker. Tēnā koutou te whare. To the Minister of Broadcasting, will he ensure accessibility to Rugby World Cup television broadcasts for the deaf community by requiring captioning on all public channels? And will he remind all broadcasters of their obligations to provide reasonable access for the deaf community under the United Nations Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities?
Jonathan Coleman.
Mr Speaker, Television New Zealand is the only New Zealand broadcaster that has the ability to carry out live captioning of matches. They are broadcasting 7 Rugby World Cup games live, including the final, semi-finals, the bronze final, 2 quarter-finals and the opening match, and all 7 will feature live captioning.
Catherine Delahunty.
Will he extend captioning beyond the Rugby World Cup, given that the United States of America has had captioning of all sports games on television since 1982?
The Honourable Jonathan Coleman.
Mr Speaker, well, as I said, Mr Speaker, only TVNZ has the ability to do live captioning. The government spends $1.9 million a year on captioning for the deaf community, and in consultation with them it is decided how the money will be spent. So 240 hours a week of primetime television is broadcast with captioning, and I think that is a pretty satisfactory result.
Question number 10, the Honourable David... Oh, I beg your pardon, Melissa Lee, is it supplementary?
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Mr Speaker. Supplementary question to the Minister of Broadcasting. What reports has he had of calls for greater expenditure on public services in addition to public broadcasting services?
Speaker.
The Honourable Jonathan Coleman.
Mr Speaker, I have had reports of a party that wants greater expenditure on a range of public services. Surprisingly, it is the same party that is deeply opposed to free trade, mineral surveys, RMA reforms, tax reforms and road building. In fact, just about anything that will grow the economy.
Order. I look at the primary question here and I struggle to see what the Minister's telling the House has got anything to do with this primary question. The primary question was around accessibility to Rugby World Cup broadcasts for the deaf community. Now, the member asking a supplementary question has tried to extend that to a question about parties calling for more public expenditure. Now, that's a pretty tall... I accept that in his answer the Minister mentioned what the government spends via Television New Zealand on captioning, but I don't believe that is a sufficient reason to... I'm happy for the member to ask specifically about that issue, but to extend that to a wider question around what other parties might be calling for in terms of wider expenditure is simply stretching standing orders too far. I invite Melissa Lee to reword her question.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. Supplementary question to Minister of Broadcasting. What reports has he had of calls for greater expenditure on public services in addition to public broadcasting services like captioning?
Order. The Minister of Broadcasting, I can't see how the Minister of Broadcasting has any responsibility. Well, let me not presume. The Minister of Broadcasting is welcome to answer that question in terms of the portfolios for which he is responsible. The Honourable Jonathan Coleman.
Mr Speaker, the point is that member is calling for more expenditure in public broadcasting, but there's absolutely no plan for payment of it. So, I mean, that seems to be a consistent theme. That's the answer.
Question number of order.
Mr Speaker.
Is this a point of order?
At no point in my questions I call for public expenditure.
Order. I believe the matter's been dealt with. The question was asked, the Minister answered it, and that's the end of that matter. Question number 10, the Honourable David.